I hate to say I told you so, but this requires a big ol' I told you so. And who am I telling? I'm telling the leftists, the Democrats, the media, all these people who backed this defunded the police movement, including Ocasio-Cortez, despite the fact that she said that she didn't. I want to tell them that we have been right all along. That everyone who said defunding the police would be a bad idea, we have been right all along. The media can ignore it all they want to, but the numbers show it. Police defunded, major cities feeling the loss of police funding as murders, other crimes soar. This is from Fox News right now. This article that I'm about to show you, it goes through various cities that have decreased their budgets for their police departments. And you can see the results here. Some results are way worse than others, but there is also a twist that I kind of want to put at the very end and make sure people understand that there is a problem out there when it comes to certain ways that we treat or handle police shootings. And it's not necessarily with the police. So let's go ahead and start. Minneapolis. Now, as you know, Minneapolis was ground zero recently because of the George Floyd death on the hands of Derek Chauvin. As you know, Derek Chauvin was accused of murdering George Floyd because of the way that Chauvin had his knee almost near his neck for almost 9 minutes. And as you've gotten more information over time, you realize that Derek Chauvin not only was doing as he was trained, he wasn't necessarily at fault for George Floyd's death. George Floyd was hyped up on enough fentanyl to kill a horse. And that's one of the reasons that he died. But regardless of that, he died, and the Black Lives Matter movement decided it was a good idea to start defunding the police all over the nation, claiming that doing so would actually would reduce crime. How? I have no idea. This is another one of those fantastical ideas from the hard left that I will never understand. But regardless, let's dive into this. Between December 11th, 2020 and March 28th of this year, murders in the city rose 46%. Good Lord. And there's another one. Going back further, there have been 49% more homicides since the initial budget cut in July 2020. See, it's just skyrocketing homicides. All right, murders and homicides up. And it's sad that we had to find out the hard way that this doesn't work, despite the fact that common sense told us better. Total violent crime in Minneapolis between July 22nd, 2020 and March 28th was also up 22% year over year, 3,692 this year compared to 3,025 last year. It's horrible. Portland, Oregon, the home of Antifa, also suffering big time. Police statistics from July 2020, when the city's budget cuts were made, in this past February, the most recent data available shows homicide skyrocketing 270.6% compared to the same time last year. It continues in the first 2 months of 2021 alone. Portland reported 17 murders, a 1,600% increase from the single murder reported during the first 2 months of 2020. Unbelievable. 1,600% increase. New York City, of course, New York City was going to be on here. Murders in New York City are up 11.8% year to date as of March 21, with 76 reported this year compared to 68. The number of shootings rose 40.1% in 2021, with 220 reported as of March 21, compared to the 157 recorded shootings during the same time last year. Los Angeles, murders are up 28.3%. 77 killings reported this year to date compared to the 60 reported during the same time in 2020. It's horrible. Austin, Texas even. Austin, Texas right now has a mounting homeless problem, but it too decreased its city budget for its police. The city's reported crimes against persons decreased 4% this year through February compared to the same time frame in 2020. So they're not doing too bad on at least crimes against persons. As of February 2021, the most recent available data showed that there were 11 murders year to date in Austin compared to the 10 reported during the same time last year, statistics show. Meanwhile, aggravated assault reports were up 26%, from 415 reported year to date in 2020 compared to 524 so far this year, while crimes against persons decreased 4%, but everything else went up. See, folks, this is proof positive right here that decreasing a city's police budget is going to increase crime. Now, why does that happen? Well, it's common sense, really. Whenever you have a police department and you decrease officers, funding for units, equipment, stuff like that, you are going to see more crime because there are less people to handle it. In Dallas, we had a very bad problem just like that with an understaffed police department who couldn't even answer certain kinds of calls because there weren't enough officers to do it. But here's another problem that actually happens. Whenever you have a police department and something big happens, like a white officer shooting a black person, and it goes viral, a city defunding its police department is almost like it's telling the police department, we don't have your back. We are going to side with the people who are angry with you. And as such, there's a demoralization that occurs. Police officers become scared to actually do their job because you never know when you're going to be the next national pariah. The media may descend on an incident and turn that officer's life into a circus where they are at the center of the ring and everyone is there to boo you. It is hard on not only on the officer, it's hard on the officer's family. It's hard on the city. Oftentimes, what will also happen is you will see crimes increase because of the riots that occur due to media sensationalization. Media sensationalization causes people to get angry. It causes people to want to do something. And that can go from either just being a political activist to an actual street thug, like Antifa. You know, you might put on a black mask and a hoodie and start breaking windows in the name of justice. How breaking the windows or burning down the businesses of black residents within that town is getting justice, I have no idea. You're going to have to ask them. But apparently they seem to believe that that is justice. So one of the things that I also want to point out right now is that it's funny to me that the same people who want to defund the police department are the same people who want to burn down the black owners' businesses and destroy their neighborhoods. The same people who also want to disarm you are the same people who want to make it okay for people to do that. They're okay with the rise in crime. They're okay with defunding the police. They don't want the police to be able to protect you. They don't want you to be able to protect yourself either. It's all kind of a sick game. And this is what happens whenever police departments are run by blue state governors or Democrat city mayors, Democrat city councils. Here's the sad part, and I want to point this out to you. A lot of this doesn't have to happen. Not only do the police departments not have to be defunded, a lot of this doesn't have to happen in the first place in terms of riots or all these extra deaths that occur. It's not the police's fault that these occur, as a Harvard professor's research actually points out. It is the media. And I hinted to this a second ago. Harvard professor's research shows media's responsibility for black deaths, and the media told him to be silent. This is a true story, and I wrote this back in June of last year. But it's important to point this out. The story revolves around a Harvard economist named Roland Fryer. Roland Fryer was the youngest black man to ever receive tenure at Harvard, he warned that the elimination of police from various communities could result in thousands of black lives taken. He got to that conclusion because at one point in time, he set out to see whether police actually really did hurt the situation. As you guys know, Black Lives Matter and many other activists were saying that police just make situations worse. They put people's lives in danger. So Roland Fryer set out to see if that was true. What he found was the exact opposite. And he sat down with College Fix and showed them the research and also the effects the research had on the media. Fryer and Harvard doctoral student Tanaya Devi, studied pattern or practice investigations into viral incidents of alleged police brutality that involved a black person who died. Each reviewed video of these incidents had received at least 2 million views at the time of the study. Pattern or practice investigations are used by federal and state governments to mitigate unconstitutional police activity, including but not limited to excessive force and racial bias. According to the Harvard Scholars Working Paper on the Impact of these investigations into the police activity on homicide and crime rates, published in early June, the investigations resulted in almost 900 excess homicides and almost 34,000 excess felonies. The spike in the crime rate occurred over the course of 2 years in the 5 cities where deaths in the viral incidents occurred, including Freddie Gray in Baltimore and Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. According to Fryer, police officers do not want to be the next nationally infamous officer that shot someone and became the excuse for riots and protests to kick off. They began avoiding interacting with their communities in a proactive manner despite the fact that 911 call volumes and response times stay consistent, resulting in many more dead. Certain shootings that did not result in national media attention did not cause fatality or felony rates to increase. While additional research is still needed to find the direct cause of the increase in homicides, the real culprit seems to be the media. So what does that mean? It means that whenever the media shows up to make a big deal out of a white officer killing a black man, more people die, more things are destroyed. It is the media's sensationalism that actually spurs a lot of these problems, not the police. The police are not the ones who actually make things worse. In fact, one of the things that Fryer was saying was that proactive policing is what really helps a lot of these cities stay safe. What is proactive policing? Many crimes are actually stopped before they begin just by the presence of a police officer or the threat of a police officer being there. They are able to go around, you see a police officer driving by and immediately many people who were thinking about acting up might think twice because a police officer is right there. They're not going to do it. If they know that a police officer is going to be there quickly, many people do not commit crimes. So it really does help if a police officer is there. And a police department is well funded and it's well supplied. And also whenever the morale is high. Again, if a city has seemingly turned its back on police officers, the police officers become afraid to do their jobs. Which is really scary for them, and I can understand why, especially given Derek Chauvin. It's the media. It is the media's fault that this happens. It is the media who actually increases the murder rates and the crime rates in these cities, especially cities where they sensationalize a white officer killing a black man. Now, here's the worst part. Yeah, it gets worse. Fryer took this to many in the media. He wanted to show them the data, to show them, hey, here's what you're doing right now, and what you're doing is hurting people. According to the Harvard professor, the media has a, quote, absolute refusal to grapple with the data. And what's more, there was an insistence that he shouldn't publicize the data at all. In other words, the media wanted him to keep quiet. They didn't want people to know that it's actually their fault. The media loves blood on the ground. The media, if it bleeds, it leads, is a popular phrase. If it gets your eyeballs, if it gets you to click, if it gets you to interact in any way, then their ad revenue goes up. They sensationalize these things because it's profitable to do so. It's important to remember that the media isn't really your friend. They're not a public service. They are a business with a vested interest in making you watch. So they will sensationalize a story that they know will get the public's attention and blow it up to something far bigger than it actually is. And sadly, what results is death and destruction. They don't want you to know that. They are refusing to actually even acknowledge the fact that they might be doing this. But it's true. Whenever you see the media sensationalizing anything, always look for the truth. There's always something else going on there that they're not talking about. You can see that happening in the George Floyd trial. The Derek Chauvin trial. You can see that happening all the way back to Nick Sandmann, a kid who smirked. And everyone thought he was just some racist kid. It turns out he wasn't. It turns out it was just another activist getting in his face trying to make him look bad. But the media didn't care at the moment. He was just wearing a MAGA hat and he had to be punished. The media is the real villain here, not police officers. We actually need our police officers. We need our police funded. We need them with high morale. We need them to know that they have our back so that they can continue to protect the people, especially the very people who claim that they're not being protected by police. As it turns out, police help them quite a bit. It is the media that hurts them the most. I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or learned anything, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you're made aware when we upload new content. See you in the next video.